Welcome back to Teenage Nightmares, the place that drags you deeper into the world of the unknown. In tonight's chilling episode, we'll hear from Zach as he shares a terrifying encounter deep within the woods. So sit back, get cozy, and prepare for another nightmare. Hello, my name is Zach. My story takes place during the fall of 2007. I had just gone through a messy divorce, lost the house, most of my money, and nearly everything I had built. The only things left to my name were an old cabin and a beat-up Ford pickup I'd bought a few years before getting married. Thankfully, the judge ruled those were mine and mine alone. My only real options were moving back in with my parents or living in that cabin. I didn't hesitate long. I packed up the truck and headed out to the Ozark Mountains in Arkansas, where the cabin sat tucked away in the woods. It was about a 3-hour drive from my parents' place, close enough that I could visit them on weekends, but far enough that I'd finally have some peace and solitude to get over the divorce. So I loaded up what little I had left, climbed into the Ford, and hit the road. The drive up through the Ozarks was beautiful, mile after mile of nothing but trees, rolling hills, and crisp autumn air. By the time I finally reached the cabin, I was relieved to see it wasn't in nearly as bad of shape as I'd imagined. Sure, the inside was coated in dust and cobwebs, but after a good sweep and a quick mop, the place looked almost brand new. Once it felt livable, I unpacked and decided to season up one of the steaks I'd brought with me. I set up my little camping stove, not the best piece of equipment, but good enough to get the job done. Soon I had a hot steak on my plate. I tossed a few logs into the fireplace, lit a fire, and settled into my chair for the first quiet evening I'd had in months. I had my old MP3 player with me too. Back then, podcasts were just starting to get popular, and I was hooked on true crime. So I queued one up, leaned back in front of the fire, and let myself breathe for the first time in what felt like forever. But that peace didn't last long. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw it, a shadow moving across the window. It wasn't a quick flicker either. It was slow, deliberate, enough to make me pause my podcast and sit forward. I don't scare easily, but in that moment my heart was pounding. I crept up to the fog glass, pressing my face close to see if anyone, or anything, was out there, but the forest beyond was still and silent. After a few tense minutes, I told myself it must have been nothing. I went back to my chair, restarted the podcast, and tried to push the thought from my mind. About 20 minutes passed, and everything was quiet again. I was still sitting by the fire, half lost in my podcast, when I heard knocking at the door. At first, I froze, praying it was my imagination. But then it came again, louder this time, 3 sharp, deliberate knocks that echoed through the cabin. I called out asking who was out there, my voice trembling. But there was no answer, just silence pressing in from the woods. Then something slammed against the door so hard that I nearly jumped out of my chair. Every instinct in me screamed not to open it. I don't know why, but my gut told me if I did, I wouldn't be telling this story today. So I stayed put, heart racing, gripping the arms of my chair, and I waited. The knocking went on for what felt like forever, 20 minutes at least, before it finally stopped. Whoever it was eventually gave up, and I was left in silence again. I tried to convince myself it was just some crazy mountain drifter messing around. But the next day, when I went into town for supplies, I learned the truth. A murder had taken place just a mile from my cabin. An elderly couple, killed in their home, brutally, by a disturbed man who had been wandering the woods. I wasn't the only one who had seen him either. A few others told the sheriff about a creepy man knocking on their doors and windows late at night. That knowledge still chills me, because as much as I'm thankful I listened to my gut that night, I can't help but feel guilty too. Maybe if I had opened that door, maybe if I had confronted him, the couple might still be alive. I'll never know, and that's something I'll have to live with for the rest of my life. Thanks for watching. If you enjoy creepy, original short horrors like this one, don't forget to subscribe. I post new original horror stories every week.